On today's episode of Project 96, we're going to be installing the JRZ Pro shock. So we've never done one of these shocks before. So this video is going to be literally like you're doing it yourself. So we're going to go over some points that we have found. I got my partner over here, Bert. He's going to be helping me out. So Bert, let me give you these real quick. So early this morning, Bert went along with some of the things that we have to do. So come on over and we're going to kind of show you what we have to do. So again, this is we're adjusting the lighting. So let's see if I can get in here with some light here. Okay, so the first thing you're going to have to do is we're removing the rear shocks is you're going to have to take the air box out. So the air box, you have to get to those three nuts back there. Yeah, right there. There's four of them actually. 4 nuts right there. So those nuts right there have to come out, but you got to get the air box out. On the driver's side, heater box blower motor has to come out because you can't get your hand. Let's see if we can hold the light back there. Let's see here. Those nuts back there, same area. Let's see if I can move the light a little bit better here. That's right where the light's at. Again, let me see if I can get my hand back here. But those right there. So you're not going to be able to use a wrench back there. So this has to come out. So we're going to zoom out here. This has to come out. This has to come out. All this has to come out so you can take out the strut. So one thing that we noticed was the kit was packaged very well, but did not come with a spanner wrench. So you will need a spanner wrench to adjust your coilovers. So we're going to go on this side. Pretty simple. And we're going to knock out that control arm. Do those 4 bolts up there on the top and slide this down. I would highly suggest checking the brakes. This particular car has a lip on the rotor, so we're going to replace the brakes, and we're also going to replace the shoes or the pads on this as well. On the front, there's a couple things that you need to take note of. This one will be kind of taken apart a little bit. We're going to move some lighting over here. So let me see if I can. This we've already removed. The main thing is the brake line. So let's see if you can zoom in here. You have to open the brake line. Do not crimp this if it's stainless steel because it will not spring back. If it's rubber, it's fine. Just break the brake line. The good thing about JRZ is they already made provisions on this on their shock. They have a slit here so you can put the brake line in. And there's some things here. We'll go on the other side and I'll show you. So that's going to have to come off and you will have to do a brake service, bleed the brakes to put the new ones in. Same thing with this one. Front, they need rotors and pads on this as well. So if you come over here, we're going to show you. So he's going to turn the wheel while we're getting the camera here. And right here, let's see, this bolt. There you go. So you got a hex bolt here. And down here, you have a hex head and an Allen. Don't freak out. This is factory. We didn't think it was neither until we looked at the service manual. So that's normal. And I think that's pretty much it. So you have the bolts up on the top that you're going to undo. And we'll open up the hood. And they're going to be right here. This one, this one, this one, and this one. And I believe those are M8s as well. So it's probably going to be a 13 millimeter. Drop that off. We do have to take the sway bar. Is that correct? No? No sway bar. So you can leave the front. That's pretty much it. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to come back and show you kind of what we've done. Pretty simple if you're mechanically inclined. Even if you're not, I think it's going to be pretty easy to do. All right, guys, come back.
Remove the ABS wiring system off the lower half of the strut. There's a little plastic clip under here that you have to pop. Just take a normal flathead screwdriver, pop that open. It'll release the ABS connection. Move that out of the way. You have a little ground wire and this plastic clip that comes out of the way. So we get that out of the way. Next, you'll need a 18 mil and 11 mil to break the brake line loose. You're gonna want to rag for this because we can't crimp the brake line because it's braided. That's great for audio. Next, we're moving on to removing the two bolts that are on the spindle. The top one is a 10 millimeter Allen. You always want to break this stuff loose with a wrench first, not an impact. So if it's seized, it doesn't snap the bolt off. Ask me how I know. And then your bottom bolt is a 19 millimeter. Then once that second bolt is removed, just make sure you don't break any of the ABS stuff and your suspension will just hang. From there, we'll move up to the top, remove the 4 nuts holding the strut in. And now, you take your left hand or right hand, whichever one you prefer, hold your coilover in place and start removing the 4 nuts on the top. 1, 2, 3. And on your last one, give it a firm grip. And she falls right out. That's how you take your old busted Bilsteins out for your new JRZs. So now we're on the passenger side of the vehicle on the right front, and it's copy and paste. Remove the ABS connection point, break the brake line loose, take out your socket cap Allen on the top, take out your hex bolt on the bottom, and then remove the top 4 nuts from the top, and should be free. Now we're going to start reinstalling the coilovers, but before we can reinstall them into the car, we need to transfer over all these little brackets that go onto the new coilovers. This is the passenger side, so what you have to make sure is where it bolts into the spindle, the brake line is on the same location. They cannot flip-flop, or you're going to have a nightmare on your hands. So let's start removing the ABS housing first. First, what you want to do is open this guy back up again. Then flip it over. And inside here, you see these little plastic nipples that stick through. What you want to do is get something in there and push out this little plastic push pin. That's what retains this housing into the coilover. Oh, there it goes. So that's a little retaining plastic piece. Once that's removed, it will come right off. Make sure you save this when you reinstall. Same thing with the ground wire. Come in around the back side, and you start pushing out that little dowel pin. Get a pair of needle nose or a pair of pliers. Push it out a little bit more. There it is. A little struggle, but it's off. And then last, this little clip. Pops right up. Now, all we're going to do is reverse what we did and just put everything back on as it came off. That goes in. Little plastic retaining pin goes in. Just give it a little push. Just like that. That's back and installed. Going to reinstall this guy. Just like that. Now, you're ready to reinstall it in the car. All right, so now we're going to install the coilovers. First thing you want to do is attach it from the top with the 4 nuts, so that before you install it onto the spindle itself. So you just bring it in through the bottom. Get this washer, the nylon nut, washer, nylon nut, washer, nylon nut, washer, nylon nut, and it will hang there while you get your tools to tighten up the top 4 nuts. I know everyone's first instinct to do is just grab an impact and send these 4 nuts home, but the problem with doing that is you'll overheat the nylon inside the nut and it would no longer be functional and they would come loose again. So take the time, use a ratchet, and you have better results. Once it starts getting tight, move on to your next ones and bring them together equally. As per JRZ's instructions, they give us torque specs for every bolt on the suspension. With this being an M8 bolt, it's going to be 25.5 Newton meters, or for us Americans, 18.8 foot-pounds. All right, now we're going to be reinstalling the coilover onto the spindle. First thing you want to do is make sure everything's aligned. And once it's aligned, you're going to take your little dog bone here that retains your 2 nuts. You'll see that they're 2 different sizes because your bolts are 2 different sizes. Your Allens are going to be your smaller one that goes up top, and then your hex is going to go on the bottom. So first, let's install the bolts. Once you have your 2 bolts installed with the dog bone in the back with your nuts, it's time to torque these. I referenced the handbook for this, and the lower M14 bolt gets torqued to 148 foot-pounds, and the top bolt, which is an M12, gets torqued to 88 foot-pounds. Oh, good Lord. It might. All right, once you have torqued your top hat of your coilover, you have torqued your M14 and your M12 bolt. Now just reassemble your ABS wires into the housing. Don't forget to attach your ground wire into the housing. Make sure you reinstall your C-clip on your brake lines. Now remember, you will have to re-bleed your brake system after installing these. All right, we just wrapped up doing the passenger side installation of the coilovers. Now we are going on to the driver's side, and it's the same process. Transfer over all your plastic retaining bits, and then installation is the exact same. Hang it from the 4 bolts on the top, install your 2, torque everything to spec. Don't forget to tighten your brake lines back up again, and that's it. And when we come back, we will be removing and installing the rear set of coilovers. All right, now we are on the right rear of the car, and first things we're going to start removing is the sway bar end link. The sway bar end link is connected to the back side of the coilover. Then after that, we're going to be removing this nut, which is attached to the caster arm. And then once that is removed, we'll move up to the top, remove the 4 bolts, and the coilover will fall out. So what you need a 15 mil for the nut. And if it starts to spin on its own, there's little flat spots on here, which you'll take a 5/8 or a 16 mil, stick it in there, and remove it like this. And now on the caster arm, it'll take an 18 mil on the nut, but also this is a ball joint style. So there is a T40 that will go in here, because once it starts, once you start loosening it, it just spins. So you stick this guy in here. Like that. All right, once you have removed the nut from the caster arm and the sway bar end link, you're going to have to remove this underpan, so that way we can get to the bolt on this caster arm. It's 5 screws with a Phillips head. Just undo. Slide out. All right, so now to remove the caster bolt, we want to make sure that we mark where this cam bolt is. So, mark it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. You can't mark it enough. Just make sure it goes right back into the same exact spot as you took it off. Even though the car is going to get aligned, but driving it to the alignment, it'll still be pretty good. Now that you remove the nut on the caster bolt, you're going to have to remove the sway bar, because you cannot remove the bolt with the sway bar in the way. So you're going to go ahead, it's 2 13s, top and bottom. You remove these 2 bolts on both sides, you remove the sway bar, and you'll be able to remove your caster bolt, which then will allow you to drop the caster rod out and pull it out and move to the top. All right, once you have your caster bolt removed, once you have your sway bar removed and out of the way, you can remove your caster bolt fully. And once you remove the caster bolt, just take a little pry bar, get underneath there, and pop out your caster arm. And then from there, your coilover is free. Now that this is removed, we're going to go up top, remove the 4 nuts holding the coilover in place, and then it'll be on its way out. All right, once you remove the 4 nuts from up top on the coilover, this should fall right out. And it does. Now what we'll have to do for the other coilover is reinstall the sway bar end link onto the new coilovers. Now we're going to be transferring the sway bar end link over to the new JRZs, and do so. It's a 17 millimeter nut, and again, you're going to use a 5/8 to hold the stud in place when you're removing it. Make sure you orientate this correctly. It goes on the closest to the shock body. All right, so the first step on this tedious process of removing this whole heater fan system is removing this tube, hose clamp down here, hose clamp up here, little vacuum hose here, temperature sensor wires, and other temperature sensor wires. Get all those loosened and popped out, and then move on to the next part. Oh, that's motorsports. All right, once you remove the elbow that comes off of the exhaust manifolds, there's going to be two bolts that are located on the side of the blower motor here. Once you remove them, this unit will come out, and then you have a connector here that unplugs, and you'll see here, these are the two bolts that are holding the blower motor in place. And now with that removed, you have better access to the top of the strut bolts. All right, now with the heater motor removed, what you see is here's the top of the strut. You're going to have 4 nuts that you're going to need to remove in order to drop the strut out. Sadly, there's no good angle for you to see me remove them, so it's going to be YouTube magic. All right, so just like the other side, rinse and repeat. You're going to loosen the caster rod ball joint, remove your sway bar, which you already did that to remove it to pull off the other side, and pull out your caster arm bolt. All right, so now that we've got the caster rod removed, all that's left to do is to drop the coilover out.
All right, so we kind of broke a little bit, but we're back. Went ahead and installed the rear strut. We had to wait for the tool because they ran out of tools, but normally it will come with the tool, so we had to adjust it. Installed both sides. We went ahead and put new brakes on this while we were at it because he was at a spec. You're gonna drop the sway bar, which you see there, and then look at your service manual to install these. Pretty simple. The bolts on the inside, underneath the deck lid, and we'll show you. We're going to raise this up and show you how we ran the lines. So we went ahead and ran the line over the top of the rear subframe, and then it came in from there through the engine bay, and we'll show you where that's at. We went ahead and wrapped this to protect the anodizing. Before you run these lines though, there is a dry lock back there. You need to undo this cap and bleed all of the nitrogen out of the reservoir. Then at that point, you can remove the dry lock. There is still fluid in here. It's not going to come out because of the dry lock, but you would run that through. Make sure, again, this is bled. Put the cap back on to protect the Schrader valve. I will tell you, we had to make a special tool to crimp this together. If you're strong enough to do it, more power to you. Ran it through here. Naturally, we have the heater blower removed because we're not going to be running that on this car. And we do not have the mounts yet, but like I stated before, RS Pro does make some nice mounts, and we're going to mount these up in here. And then on the other side, we come around here, we did remove the air box. Same thing, remove on all of the shocks, the nitrogen, run it through, and we ran it over the same area, and it will come here. So they'll have easy access. Unfortunately, we can put it this way, and then we can put it that way going like this. But for us, the JRZ would be one way, and then the JRZ on the other side would be upside down. So we're going to run it this way, and they would just have to do the adjustment by reaching out. But we'll have it all set up for them. So we tried thinking about moving it, putting it here on the side, but there's not enough room with a power steering pump. So the best scenario is going to be running it up top here. This complete motor is going to be dropped anyways. It's going to get ITBs on there, and it's going to get all this carbon fiber. So that's just to show you how we ran the reservoirs, because a lot of people, we looked online and no one really shows a clear-cut way. So that's how we ran it. Now we're going to go to the front. So we install the front. Again, we had to adjust the collar here. And what we did is we ran it right here where the, I believe this is the analog sensor goes. We just split the line, ran it right up through here for a nice clean look. Go ahead and reference your shop manual to see how this gets installed. Pretty simple. We went ahead and put new brakes on this particular car as well while we were at it. This particular car has RS brakes, so they may look a little bit different than your 993. Ran it through, and then we'll show you how we have it ran. Again, same scenario. You're going to have to break the dry lock by removing the nitrogen off the shocks first before you can do this, because you're not going to be able to get the dry lock through that hole, or the all of it through the reservoir through that hole. So you do have to break the dry lock. And again, I cannot stress this enough. Please remove the nitrogen, and we're going to show you what it looks like dropped. All right, so we ran it through the hole on both sides. Comes out nice and clean. We went ahead and we need to change the fire alarm. We went ahead and reinstalled the dry lock. Again, we used a special tool. Bert, can you grab me that tool? This is protected as well. We're going to install this a little bit different. It's going to get pushed in, but like this. Again, using the RS Pro reservoir holders. This way the JRZ shows on both JRZ. Put this so it doesn't get messed up. Going this way on both sides. We see a lot of people that have them this way. We're pretty particular with that. We didn't want to have the JRZ upside down, so we're going to run it, I guess, parallel to the fender. We made this little tool here. I'll show it to you. This is what we had to use and make. So Bert will kind of show you how. And again, if you're strong enough to do it.
Flex those two sides together.
Yep, and then they click right in. Once you have these back on, then you can go ahead and let me explain something what this is here for. We're putting a carbon fiber complete front cover. So we wanted to support the bottom of this. So we went ahead and 3D printed this piece here, covered this in felt. I doubt it's gonna touch, but we just wanted to be cautious and covered it as well here. So I will tell you, if you are gonna do a carbon frunk, definitely look into getting a lighter battery instead of the heavy battery, because it's going to be kind of a pain to remove everything because it's such a snug, nice fit finish. We went ahead and once this is connected, went to the nitrogen tank and refill this back up to, I believe it's 250 PSI using a tool. How you do it is up to you, but do not put the car under load until you fill your shock reservoirs. It's very important. They put it in bold in the JRZ. You have to fill it back up before you do that. So now that they're filled, we're going to go ahead and probably set up put the wheels on, set the ride height by using the spinner wrench, and then we'll kind of button it all up a little bit. That's the basic lines. We'll go ahead and set the camber and everything once we take it to the line shop. Right now, we just wanted to show you how to install this and where we're putting this at. And that's pretty much it. Pretty simple install, very, very good quality. Hopefully we can change that battery. And that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.